Hi everyone, for those of you who have not been on this channel before, this is James, all about productivity, career, and money. Today I'm going to tell you about single-handedly the best book I have read this year. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. If you're working in any clients-related business, this book I would say is a Bible and the gold standard on how to treat your client. It's written by Will Guidara, who is a New York entrepreneur who owns the famous 11 Madison Park.
But wait, James, aren't you always talking about recruiting, productivity, and money?
Why on earth near the end of 2024 are you talking about a restaurant all of a sudden? Well, I'm going to tell you in a second, for those of you who may not know it. So when it comes to culinary subjects, there's two gold standards to restaurant rating on planet Earth. There is Michelin guide and there's 50 best restaurants. So each year involves over 1,000 food experts to inspect and vote each restaurant. And if you're selected, basically like among hundreds of thousands of restaurants, you are renowned as the best in the world. And 11 Madison Park is rated the highest ranking 3 Michelin stars starting in 2012 and is ranked #1 in the world's 50 best restaurant in 2017. So I want you to think about the most luxurious Japanese omakase dinner that you can imagine, like maybe in Beverly Hills. It's something that you can only take your partner out once, like maybe on a Valentine's Day dinner. The food was great, everybody arrives in limo, all fancy, the service was impeccable. But I want you to think, like, if everything about that place is so good, why wasn't that restaurant the best in the world? What really separates from good to being great in the service business? And that's exactly what I'm here to talk to you about today. From 20 chapters and 89 principles in this world, I picked 5 big takeaways I want to share with you today. Number 1, service is black and white. Hospitality is a color. So I want you to think about the moment and that you have received a good service from anyone. It could be a bartender, it could be a valet, and what do you remember? It is probably moments like, hey, this one is on the house, or the valet saying, don't worry about it, I can get you an extra hour for the parking. So none of this hospitality part is part of their job description per se. Now thinking back, like every time I went out, I wouldn't recall like any time if I expect something and I got exactly what I wanted for if there's nothing extra. So I always remember the special moments that someone did a little bit extra for you. So black and white means that you're doing your job, but it's not enough to make people remember you. Hospitality is something that exceeds that. So 11 Madison Park started off being number 50 on the 50 best restaurant list, which is incredible achievement by itself, don't get me wrong. This is a time where they're getting every detail right about plating, about food, and light. But apparently, it's not enough to get them to number 1. So they got to that number by being obsessive over the customer experience, what the customer experience should feel like, to a point where their providing can only consider being unreasonable. And Will had so many good stories going on in his book. I'd love for you to check it out and hear it firsthand. Number 2, enthusiasm is contagious. If you have worked with clients, co-workers, you probably have some occasions where people reach out and is asking for a favor. And it could be anything, it could be small or big, but it's definitely something you can say no to. So at that time, I want you to think like what motivates you to say yes to that request. Well, like I work with over 100 clients each year and over their digital ad strategies. And I've noticed like the best conversations tend to happen with those with passion. Like they're so hardworking, they're so warm, and they're usually very enthusiastic about promoting their business. And it's enough that like it motivates you to provide a better service to them. Every time they run into trouble, it moves you to go above beyond and help them like with your expertise. And usually when I provide generosity or I provide hospitality, this type of relationship always reciprocates and helps you in the future. And usually in a team situation, if there's one person that brings this kind of passion with them, he or she is more likely to be a leader, and because he's the one who always moves the needle and does become an influencer among team members. Number 3, choose conflicting goals. First, if you're listening this far, I really appreciate that. This is a channel that's just starting, and I'm not someone who's a millionaire yet. It's showing their advice how they get there. I graduated from USC with a marketing degree and just got in my corporate life in Amazon. So if you know anything about working in corporate, is that there's so many moving pieces. Very often you run into a situation that demands conflict of priorities and pushes you for innovation. For example, Southwest Airline is said to be the most lowest cost airline in America and number one in both customer and employee satisfaction. So in 2024, it's named a leader in the economic class customer satisfaction for third consecutive year, and they won the APEX 4-Star Airline Award, which means you are recognized as a top airline among the best passenger experience solely, which is rating based entirely on customer feedback. It is so counterintuitive that how you are able to provide both A and B when they're conflicting. But oddly, when you're looking at the benchmarks of the number one, like the elite of elite in every industry, they're usually the ones that have achieved all those metrics. But don't get me wrong, like it's not just about a solution and says, oh, I can just work harder to get there. You cannot. That is a problem. Like it pushes you to get the different workflow and delegate and buy back your time or design a system for everything that you're currently doing. So conflicting priorities push for innovation. Number 4, it might not work is a terrible reason not to try. So Will talks about his early struggles about giving young professionals working in his restaurant who wouldn't qualify at that time to drive the leadership programs. But later he realized the best time for someone to lead is when they are not ready. Another counterintuitive argument, but I want you to think in this. When I first heard like Michael Jordan was cut from his varsity team of basketball in sophomore in high school, you know what I'm thinking? Like that coach was such an idiot. But reality is he or she at that time probably know perfectly what they were doing because Michael wasn't ready at that time. Even Kobe, he was ranked 57 among the best high school ballers in his local ranking. But that is not the point I'm addressing there. The thing is, what if someone would step in that time and drew the conclusion and talk to Mike, say like, hey Mike, you're just no good at basketball. And maybe you should just get a job at a factory. And I would absolutely say you're out of your mind to say that. Because you know what? You and I are also the ones who's rooting for the people who does not. And this line of thinking that we let our current circumstances dictate someone's upward potential can be limiting ourselves from achieving so many great things. So at the end of 2024, if you have not achieved like what do you want to achieve or be at where you want to be like myself, like go ahead and give it a try and experiment new things in 2025, set ambitious goals and don't afraid it might not work out. Number 5, treat everyone like a VIP. So the concept of chef's table in most restaurants means there is a special place for only a selected few of individuals to have the best experience because they pay the highest price, and this is not an uncommon concept in business. In marketing, you have tiers of customers you have to pre-arrange and prioritize. Based on their willingness to pay, you determine your levels of service to them. And I have been operating within that same principle for the past 3 years. I would say that it's definitely true to a certain extent. You need to be able to prioritize, but never to extent that burns the bridge or denies your client of future opportunities. So this requires you to be mindful of each touch point with your client. Maybe sometimes it does not make sense for you to work together, for you to spend time with them today, but keep in touch, like make sure they feel good when you departed and they feel excited about the future opportunities. And that's it for today's video. For more content like this, please subscribe to the channel and give it a like to support. And Merry Christmas and have a great 2025.